Hi, I'm David. I'm one of the developers of Scalar, and today we're launching Scalar 2.5. This video introduces you to some of the features we've worked really hard on for the past few months, including an all-new suggest mode, which comes up with a very unique and human-like way of coming up with chords. And also we've overhauled all the guitar features to give you a whole new fretboard view, chord charts, strummed sequences, internal sounds, and lots more chord sets and new features. I'd like to take you through some of them now, and I'd like to thank you for supporting Scalar 2.
Okay, first thing is you'll notice there's a bunch of new skins in there. I'm using one of them now. I want to look first up at suggest mode. I love suggest mode because it's been a really, really great way to find the chords that sometimes you can hear in your head, but you can't seem to find looking at conventional music apps. And we've come up with a really unique way to suggest chords. I just want to look at this from the start. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up the Vintage Keys patch, which is new to Scalar 2.5, and it's from my Rhodes Studio 54 back there. Really nice patch, and as per usual with Scalar, you can start by choosing a scale, looking at a bunch of songs or artist chord sets. But what I'm going to do this time is I'm just going to start off by saying, start off with a chord. So I'm going to go pull in the G minor 7th chord. I'm going to go back to the main page and I'm going to look at suggest mode. So it brings up this panel here, and there's a bunch of things we can do. We can suggest individual chords, entire patterns. We can use either tonal or per scale mode, or you can auto detect. Auto detect, I'll go through them one by one, but auto detect will constantly update according to what you're doing here in section C. So if I turn it on, first thing it's going to do is say, okay, well, you've got one chord in there. You're most likely to be in the G minor scale. Now, if I was in the G minor scale and I'm looking at the standard variations or diatonics that belong to that scale, you're going to come up with a pretty standard and boring options. But I'm going to go into suggest mode, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go into per scale mode. And what that does is that finds chords or variations of chords that belong to the actual scale we're in. The first clever thing it does is it looks at the voicing of your current chord and gives you similar options. It also gives you not just standard triads, but extended chords, but it gives you some really nice chords that some of us maybe wouldn't ordinarily think of, such as lovely sus chords, minor ninths, 13ths, and so forth. It's a really, really cool way just to stay within scale and come up with very unique chords. I'm going to look at tonal mode here. I'm going to turn the auto detect back on, and tonal mode now basically says, okay, I'm going to find chords that don't necessarily fit your scale but will have a relationship to the chord that you're suggesting from. And what's really cool about that is that we've told Scalar to look at all the chord sets that we have within there that are written obviously by musicians and composers, and look at existing relationships and try and match them. Also look at voicing relationships between chords. So straight away I can see that these guys here are a different color and don't belong to the scale, and they sound great. So really cool way to come up with just chords that you wouldn't, unless you're a very experienced composer, probably wouldn't think of coming up with. So, okay, I like that A minor 7th and G sharp major 7th, so I'm going to pull in the A minor 7th. The first thing you'll notice is it now moves off and starts recommending other chords based on the progression that you've got, which is really cool. It's great, but I want to go back and get that other chord that I like. So I can now say, can you suggest again from G minor 7th? You've always got the undo and the redo when you're in suggest mode, so it makes it really easy to go backwards or forwards when you're looking for chords. So here's that G major 7th. It's now basically said, well, because you're most likely in the G Phrygian mode, G Dorian mode, or C minor scale, I'm going to call them the G minor 7, A minor 7, A flat major 7, and I end on the E flat major 7th. So yeah, again, just an easy way to just come up with really unique chord progressions from the get-go. What I can also do is I can go into pattern and ask it scalar to suggest a pattern. It can replace the entire pattern or fill or complete the rest of the pattern. So I'm going to go ahead and fill the rest of the pattern, see what it's come up with. I'm going to clear the scalar and I'm going to have a look at some other ways to use the suggest mode. I'm going to call up scales and call up a C major scale. And I'm going to pull in the C major chord. I'm going to use one of the new sounds, the steel acoustic. I'm going to go into suggest mode and I'm going to go per scale. So stick in the C major scale. There's a bunch of chords that straight away will work. I love the way it basically can offer you things like, as I said before, the susses and the extended chords. So I'm going to go, yep, cool. We'll use the F sus2. Major's great. And now I'm going to move over to tonal just to try and veer away from that scale somewhat. And I might have a look at, say, something outside the scale. Let's try the G minor 7th. So, a current progression. I'm going to come back to the suggest from the C major, maybe just to do another variation for the second half. And I'm going to go into per scale just to stick with the scale. What I might do now is turn on auto detect mode, and it'll actually tell me correctly that you're in C mixolydian mode, which is very common for this kind of type of acoustic style. Yep, that's great. Let's start again at the C suspended 2 or the C sus2 chord. I'm going to go and suggest back from C major. And I'm going to have a look at, say, one of the other sus chords up the top. And let's try B flat sus2. Now I'm going to go into tonal mode just to try and get away. They're all blue, so they're all saying that they fit the C mixolydian mode. I'm going to look for a little bit of variety. You can see there's several chords I could choose there, but I'm going to go the D sharp major chord, and I'll finish up. It's now going to recommend something from the D sharp major, and I'll finish up on the, let's go could be G sharp major 7th. So we're in auto detect mode. It's told us we're in C mixolydian. We've still got 2 chords out of that particular scale. And one of the things I'm going to do now is call up one of the new voice grouping features, and probably makes sense to go guitar voicing. So if I click through that progression, yeah, really cool, very unique chord progression. Sounds apt. I'm going to have a look at the updated strumming engine. I think that works really well. We're going to go into alternate and fast, and I will bind this area here, and I'm going to just turn the humanize on for both. And now I'll play through with that strumming. Yeah, really nice chord progression. There's a bunch of new drop 2, drop 3, and drop 4 voicings as well. So yeah, really great way to experiment. One of the things you can do now is you can go into pad mode, and let's say we're in that G sharp 7 I've ended there. So I'll copy that across to a new pattern, and I'll come into pattern 2, back to the main page, and now just to get some variety, I might say, okay, come into suggest mode, and click on pattern, and let's fill the rest of that pattern. Let's see how we go. Yeah, so it's a really nice way to almost, if you like, get your verse and then create a chorus, all using the suggest mode. And into a potential chorus. Yeah, so it's a really fun way to just come up with chord progressions, and it's really cool because you can kind of start really from anywhere, and you can choose a chord, suggest from that chord. You can actually say per scale, but then you can switch scales. You can say, I want to be in B flat major. It's really just a very creative way to explore different scales and explore chords that may not belong to that scale. Okay, let's have a look at some of the new guitar features. Okay, so now I'm going to pull up Native Instruments Picked Acoustic, and I'm going to ask Scalar to control it. And we'll look through the very straightforward chord sets of pop, ballad. I'm going to turn the voice grouping on. I'm going to choose guitar voicing. Just have a quick look through some of these chord sets here. Really lovely chord sets that fit. They sound very pop ballady. Yeah, so lots of great chord sets in pop ballad, but I actually want to look at some really great new guitar-based features. So now I'm just controlling a melodic version of Picked Acoustic, so it's just singular notes. And I'm going to ask Scalar to do some work. So let's go back to Pop Ballad 1. And I'm going to just pull some chords down. Okay, great. And here are the 4 chords. Now, the first thing to note is that if you click on the fretboard, we've introduced some really great new options. Firstly, you can see as per Scalar 2, you can see the notes, but now I can see the degrees and also the intervals on the fretboard, which are a really cool way to see different notes. One of the great new features, heavily requested features, are chord charts, and this really is designed for people who want to know how to specifically play chords on the guitar. So if I was to hit play, you'll now see that the chords here represented in the chord chart box, clearly displaying where on the fretboard to put your fingers to be able to play those chords. Yeah, so basically taking you through the chords, and as you can see here in this little excerpt, this is Edouard, who's one of the co-developers of Scalar, playing, watching those chords on his guitar. Okay, so if I close down the chord chart view, I want to look at Strummed Sequences, which is a really great new feature that we have in Scalar. And what that now enables us to do is play a huge range of sequences that are designed for strumming. So I'm going to go slow 1. Script through a few, slow 6. Now, one of the great things is obviously you can humanize as per normal to give it a bit more of a natural feel. And you can also come in, and there's plenty of options. So we've even got variations to avoid low notes occasionally, or avoid high notes, which really gives it lots of different ways to play the sequences. And we've even got lots of fast patterns there as well. Of course, you can change the profiles. You can even do variations. So there's a variation actually on each beat, just in terms of the speed, and you can have that beat variation even the direction of the strum. Yeah, so we've overhauled the guitar. We've given you lots of different ways to view on the fretboard, chord charts that you can actually clearly see the chords displayed, strummed sequences, lots of new guitar sounds. We'll go through a few more in a second, and lots of variation in the way the strum sequences can be played. So let's have a look at some of the other chord sets and internal sounds. I'm going to pull up the new retro electric guitar. And as an example, let's have a look at Pop Rock 6. Yeah, some really nice chord sets. We've also got the electric guitar, and let's quickly check out Pop Rock 1. And of course you can just drag those straight down to the bottom chord sets, and you can go straight into fret view and turn the chord charts on, and it'll show you the chord charts for any chords that you have in section C. Okay, I'm going to clear the state. I'm going to pull up the Rhodes again, one of the new internal sounds in Scalar 2.5. And I'm going to have a look at another new chord set, the contemporary R&B chord set. Some really, really cool chord sets made by one of our artists here. I'll look at contemporary R&B 10. Yeah, some really nice harmonic variation there. Finally, let's have a look at a couple more features in Scalar 2.5. I'm going to pull up Pluckett here. I'm going to have a look at some of the new deep house chord sets. Some really cool chord sets here. And we're going to bind this area. Yeah, some really cool chord sets. So I want to actually have a look at Deep House 7, and I'm going to record a little progression. Yeah, I'm going to record that in. Okay, so now I've got those notes triggering those chords. What I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate that channel. I'm going to move those notes across, and I'm going to just stretch out the different notes by force legatoing them. And now I'm going to have a look at synth sequences. So I might go into the substantial internal sound, and we've added a bunch of new sequences. So we had the common sequences category, which had the basic and the ostinato, and now we've got synth sequences. And there's some really, really cool sequences that are designed to go with the synth sound. So this is all obviously Scalar's internal sounds. There's lots in there. I'm actually going to go into Synth 13. And there's so many different ones that you can choose there. Let's go to Sine. I'm actually going to copy that sound. I'm going to duplicate. Okay, so I've duplicated that scalar patch, and I'm now controlling a bunch of excellent Arturia plugs and synths. I've got the CS80 in there, rev plate, and their delays and compressor. And what I'm going to do on this occasion is I'm going to actually just stretch it. So it just basically plays the one chord. So it just plays the very first chord, which would, in this instance, would be that B flat major. And I'm going to pull up Synth 3 now, controlling that CS80. Yep, cool. And if I bring in back in the other elements. Yeah, it's a really cool way to come up with nice ideas here. I've pulled up Deep House 7 and I've recorded those chord sets, and then I've pulled up another scalar and assigned it to the internal sine wave and one of the new synth sequences. And then again another scalar, and on this occasion I've asked it to control CS80, and I've pulled up another synth sequence. Yeah, it's been a busy few months. We've really loved creating and making and using the suggest mode. The new guitar features are really useful for us as guitarists, whether we're learning or established, and there's lots of new content to keep us busy And we really feel that Scalar 2.5's completed Scalar 2. We hope you do too. Thank you very much for supporting us, and we hope you enjoy using Scalar 2.5.